Going to be my way.
Nice.
Go.
Stay down. Stay down, light camera. Let him go. Okay.
You guys got to make room. You guys have to this. Post is good?
Okay.
We're good, sir.
We're good? Alors, bonjour tout le monde. C'est un grand honneur d'accueillir Monsieur le Président Zelensky d'ici à Kananaskis pour cette réunion très importante du G7. I would like to start by condemning in the strongest terms the latest outrage, barbarism from Russia, and express my deep condolences and those of the Canadian people to the families in Kyiv who were affected. This underscores the importance of standing in total solidarity with Ukraine, with the Ukrainian people, and we had a discussion last night amongst G7 leaders. The President and I will discuss more, and then of course we'll have the direct discussion in a moment together. But we underscored the importance of using maximum pressure against Russia, who has refused to come to the table. The President has led unconditionally to come to the table in search of peace. And maximum pressure includes financial pressure, and Canada is announcing today several measures, sanctions, first and foremost, against a number of individuals in Russia, against over 40 entities in Russia and beyond that are trying to contribute to the evasion of sanctions, the sanctioning of over 200 vessels in the shadow fleet that Russia is using, again, to try to evade these sanctions. That's the first thing. The second is we are providing additional military assistance, drones, helicopters, broader munitions, over $2 billion worth of assistance directly to Ukraine. And thirdly, we are dispersing the next tranche of the loan based on the frozen Russian assets, over $2 billion as well. This is our contribution. We'll be working with our European and other allies for their contributions to provide the support. And to be absolutely clear, this support will be unwavering until we get a just peace for Ukraine and Ukrainian people.
Thanks so much, dear Prime Minister.
First of all, good to be here in Canada and for the G7 summit. Thank you for your invitation. But first of all, thank you for your very important words, warm words, and supporting Ukraine. Of course, condolences to our families. Really, Ukrainians had, our families had very difficult night. One of the biggest attacks from the very beginning of this war, 440 Shaheeds, Iranian drones, and 32 missiles, including ballistic. And I was on direct connection during the flight with all the ministers and of course with the chief of air defense, and really it was a big attack on civilian infrastructure, on people, just people, houses and etc. And for now, information is not total information, not that final information, but for now we have 138 injured people and 12 killed. And so yes, it's a big tragedy for us, and we need support from our allies, and I'm here, and thank you for the military package. It's important for our soldiers to be strong at the battlefield, to stay strong until Russia will be ready for the peace negotiations. We are ready for the peace negotiations, unconditional ceasefire. I think it's very important, but for this we need pressure. And of course I want to speak with Prime Minister today about sanctions, additional sanctions, and thanks for the real unwavering support from your side, from all the Canadians to our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it would be very Carney, very hurtful to us because No, no, the others are there.
We eliminated I can tell you yesterday he delivered a wonderful speech. Principled and frank. He's a represent Sanctions. Not Budapest agreement and so on. So it was crystal clear, which means a lot for us. I think we will have
Yeah, bring the media. Okay, here. Bring the media out. He's doing a spray outside.
Okay, let's go.
So, I'm just gonna go out. Yeah, so we're all good here. Okay, so just go out.
Okay. Media, let's go.
sûr, il arrive. Hein. Il y avait un centre de presse rapproché, il y a un vrai centre de presse qui est toujours au mur, une demi-heure, mais il y a un centre de presse rapproché qui est tout près. Oui, oui, c'est pareil.
Honorable Anthony Albanese, Prime Minister of Australia. L'honorable Anthony Albanese, Premier ministre de l'Australie.
Oh, no? No? Is that you in a You don't want to
Honorable Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India. L'honorable Narendra Modi, Premier ministre de l'Inde. Excellency Lee Jae-myung, President of the Republic of Korea. Son Excellence, Monsieur Lee Jae-myung, Président de la République de Corée. Excellency Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo, President of the United Mexican States. Son Excellence, Madame Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo, Présidente des États-Unis du Mexique. His Excellency Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, President of the Federative Republic of Brazil. Son Excellence, Monsieur Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, Président de la République fédérative du Brésil. His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa. Son Excellence, Monsieur Cyril Ramaphosa, Président de la République sud-africaine.
Prime Minister, the President of the world. I promised you one more. I promised you. Roger, the weather. I'll be well then. Excellent.
Very good. Very good. We're at the middle. Okay. Sorry to keep a bit of a delay, but I mean, that's mutual friends met. So it'll be a little more here, but that's quite
pour élargir l'échange. D'abord remercier le Premier ministre canadien pour son accueil, l'organisation de ce G7 et le grand sérieux et l'ambition qu'il a mis au cœur de ce sommet. Ce G7 nous a en effet, j'en ai rappelé hier, les principaux acquis et je vous l'ai redit sur à la fois les questions de déséquilibres mondiaux, sur les questions de sécurité de nos chaînes de valeur, sur les questions aussi de migration comme de narcotrafic nous a permis d'avancer. Et hier soir, nous avons eu les discussions géopolitiques donc à 7. Et celles-ci ont permis, là également, d'abord de consolider une position commune sur l'Iran, puisqu'un communiqué endossé par l'ensemble des membres du G7 a été publié, qui acte ce que d'ailleurs nous avions pu dire les uns et les autres ces derniers jours, c'est-à-dire notre volonté de ne pas voir l'Iran se doter de l'arme nucléaire, qui en même temps a appelé à une désescalade dans la région et à ce qu'il y ait une stabilité au plus vite, à la protection des personnes civiles, et a également rappelé la nécessité d'avoir un cessez-le-feu à Gaza. Je pense que c'est un acquis de ce G7 sur une position commune. Nous avons eu ensuite une discussion sur l'Ukraine avec le président Trump, et elle s'est poursuivie ce matin avec le secrétaire Bessent pour ce qui est des États-Unis, mais le secrétaire général de l'OTAN, Mark Rutte, et le président Zelensky nous ont rejoints. Et donc, sur le sujet de l'Ukraine, je crois que la position commune qui se dégage, c'est d'une part de dire qu'il nous faut renforcer les sanctions, c'est ce que les Européens ont préparé, avec des nouvelles sanctions inédites et beaucoup plus fortes, et c'est ce que les sénateurs américains préparent. Et la convergence entre nos actions, avec une très grande coordination avec le Japon, le Canada et le Royaume-Uni, est de nature, à nos yeux, à changer la donne, parce que c'est ça qui va permettre de ramener la Russie autour de la table des négociations, comme le demande le président Trump depuis le mois de février dernier. En parallèle, nous avons tous acté la nécessité de continuer de soutenir l'Ukraine et de poursuivre l'effort pour justement permettre à celle-ci de résister. Nous l'avons fait dans un contexte qui n'a échappé à personne, parce que la nuit dernière a été absolument terrible pour l'Ukraine, le peuple ukrainien. Kiev a été attaqué directement, plusieurs dizaines de civils sont morts, ce qui montre le cynisme complet du président Poutine, qui utilise le contexte international pour renforcer des attaques et à nouveau des attaques contre des civils et qui très clairement agit à contrario des propos qu'il a pu avoir avec les uns et les autres ces derniers mois. Voilà la position sur l'Ukraine que nous avons dégagée. Enfin, je veux ici dire que, après avoir remercié le Premier ministre, Mark Carney, et avoir fait la synthèse de nos sessions, j'ai pu annoncer donc que la France accueillerait l'année prochaine à Évian le G7. Et c'est là aussi une manière pour nous de poursuivre ces travaux. Et dans une ville, un département, une région qui ont montré une vraie volonté, un vrai attachement à accueillir ce grand rendez-vous international. Et je veux ici remercier tous les élus locaux qui ont été très mobilisés où l'Ukraine capitulée perdra toute crédibilité pour assurer la sécurité dans une autre région, en particulier l'Indo-Pacifique. Et donc, c'est l'intérêt stratégique américain de continuer cet effort avec nous. Et de le faire, comme on l'a discuté ce matin, sanctions, soutien militaire à l'Ukraine pour conduire la Russie à revenir autour de la table, ce que demande d'ailleurs le président Trump depuis février, cesser le feu et négociation d'une paix durable.
Vous ne craignez pas que le G7 à Évian l'an prochain se transforme en G6? Parce que c'est la chaise vide de Donald Trump, c'est ce qu'on retient quand même beaucoup cette année.
Je ne parlerai pas de politique de chaise vide, d'une part parce qu'il a été là, y compris sur les débats les plus importants. Et non, parce qu'il n'a manqué qu'une session du G7, à proprement parler. Et surtout parce que nous avons parlé de tous les sujets, y compris lors du dîner. Donc je pense que ce serait vraiment pas respectueux et juste à l'égard de la présidence canadienne de dire ça. Donc ça, je récuse ce terme. Ensuite, il nous appartient, nous, de continuer à régler les sujets de déséquilibre qui sont les nôtres. Et je pense au contraire qu'il nous faut continuer de garder l'unité et de la consolider dans le G7, mais d'engager avec des partenaires de confiance qui nous permettront de peser encore davantage. C'est ce que je vais tâcher de faire. D'ailleurs, dans la continuité de l'esprit de Biarritz en 2019, où nous avions construit ce G7 avec beaucoup de pays et où on avait eu des sessions très intenses et longues avec aussi d'autres pays qui étaient clés.
Commercial, M. Carney est en négociation avec M. Trump sur une entente commerciale. Est-ce qu'il y a un pont entre l'Europe et les États-Unis? Est-ce qu'il y a une pensée commune qui pourrait se faire?
Je peux vous dire la pensée des Européens, mais je ne m'engagerai pas au-delà. Et je pense que c'est la même volonté qu'il y a chez les Japonais, les Canadiens et les Britanniques. Je pense que nous sommes convaincus. Quand on regarde aujourd'hui les déséquilibres commerciaux, je le rappelle, qui est la source de cette discussion, les déséquilibres commerciaux sont liés parfois à vos manques de compétitivité ou à des choix sectoriels qui sont faits. Cela se justifie. Vous pouvez prendre des politiques nationales pour les réduire. Bon. Ensuite, il y a un déséquilibre commercial aujourd'hui macroéconomique qui, en fait, devrait se régler de manière intelligente. Je peux vous en donner à peu près le tableau final. Il faut que la Chine arrête de surfinancer ses secteurs économiques et son offre et crée des surcapacités, qu'elle mette davantage d'argent sur son marché domestique. Il faut que les États-Unis aient un modèle qui soit moins en faveur de l'endettement et de la consommation. Et il faut que les Européens investissent davantage. Si on arrive à coordonner ces actions macroéconomiques, on règle une bonne partie des déséquilibres macroéconomiques non justifiés. Et vous voyez bien que c'est en aucun cas les tarifs. Les tarifs ne permettent pas de régler ces sujets. C'est plutôt l'unité du G7 et la question des surcapacités chinoises. Et la coordination de nos politiques macroéconomiques. C'est ça que nous devons faire. Et donc, nous, notre souhait, c'est qu'on règle au plus vite possible les tarifs. Et si je devais vous dire ce qu'on croit, nous, c'est qu'on arrive même à un scénario où entre les membres du G7 là, et les alliances dans lesquelles ils sont, c'est-à-dire en fait Européens, Américains, CPTPP, on arrive quasiment à zéro tarif. On peut avoir des différences après qui sont réglementaires, mais sur le plan tarifaire, il n'y a rien qui justifie qu'on ait des tarifs. Il faut permettre à ces économies d'être beaucoup plus intégrées. C'est ça la philosophie en tout cas qu'on pousse.
Merci beaucoup. Merci à tous.
Merci, je devrais.
Merci beaucoup.
Est-ce que M. Carney a réussi, selon vous, à faire la démonstration d'unité qu'il voulait faire,
Oui.
étant donné les commentaires de M. Trump? Là,
Moi, je dirais oui. D'abord parce que ça fait peu de semaines qu'il est en charge, qu'il a récupéré ce G7. Et encore une fois, on a 7 textes qui sont validés par ce G7, en plus du communiqué final. Un texte sur l'Iran qu'on a fait hier qui est très important, et il ne faut pas le sous-estimer. Et ces 6 textes, en particulier sur les minerais critiques, un texte très important qui permet de bâtir une alliance entre nous et qui sera élargi d'ailleurs à quelques-uns. Et donc, c'est vraiment un point important et il a réussi à garder cette unité. On ne pouvait pas régler tous les sujets. Je veux dire, il ne faut pas non plus demander à la présidence canadienne de régler tous les sujets de la Terre. Aujourd'hui, ce serait injuste. Mais il a tenu le groupe ensemble. Il l'a fait avec son élégance et sa détermination qui le caractérise. Je le connais depuis plusieurs années. Il ne s'en départit jamais. Et il a réussi ce G7, je peux vous le dire. J'ai un dernier point pour vous dire simplement que, évidemment, au-delà de ce qu'on a dit de la crise, j'ai demandé au ministre de continuer à veiller à la sécurité de nos ressortissants, de nos équipes diplomatiques et de nos bases militaires dans la région, dans le contexte qui est le nôtre, de poursuivre l'action. Et donc plusieurs annonces ont été faites par le ministre et le centre de crise du Quai d'Orsay, je le remercie, avec nos ambassades à Téhéran et Tel Aviv, et je les remercie beaucoup, continue l'action. Et puis, plusieurs dispositions militaires ont été prises aussi pour la sécurité de nos bases, de manière tout à fait classique et non escalatoire. Et dès que je serai revenu donc en France demain, je tiendrai un conseil de sécurité et de défense à 16h pour pouvoir faire le point sur tous ces sujets, la sécurité de nos ressortissants, l'adaptation à l'évolution de la menace et d'éventuelles initiatives complémentaires à prendre.
Merci beaucoup à tous.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
courage. Mais vous pouvez être fier de votre Premier ministre.
Watch yourself.
There we go. The system works. It does. For the moment.
Dobar, smaj za 3 cari za muži. Olá. Ah, thank you.
Okay. All right. Put the cameras. Let's look happy resolution.
Seconds.
Okay, then start on the left. Start on the left, yeah.
Lula, focus.
All right, thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you.
Wait. Slow down, you have
Wait there.
Media, stay here.
we have a very important agenda together, but it's a sign of the maturity, I think, of the G7 that we come together for common problems in energy security, common opportunities in new technologies from information technologies, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, the need to have reliable supplies, that this table can produce reliable supplies in critical minerals for the future, and ways to find partnership for true development and, under your control, President Lula, sustainable development and how we'll work together. So thank you for coming to Canada. Thank you for coming to this G7. Canada is your partner in all these aspects, and we're all stronger together. So on a beaucoup à faire. We have lots to do. So I thank you, the members of the media, for your presence and for your amplification of the progress that we're going to make together. And with that, we are going to get to work. Alors, merci beaucoup. Thank you, everyone.
Should be ready?
Ready? Very good. May I say, Excellency, Prime Minister, it's a great honor to host you at the G7. India has been coming to the G7, I believe, since 2018 in Biarritz with our French partners, and it's a testament to the importance of your country, to your leadership, and to the importance of the issues that we look to tackle together, from energy security, from the energy transition that you're helping to lead, to the future of artificial intelligence, to the fight that we have against transnational repression, against terrorism, against other factors, and the work that we can do together. And it is my great honor to have you here. I enjoyed your intervention just now, and we look forward to our discussion.
एक्सेलेंसी, मैं आपका बहुत बहुत आभारी हूँ कि आपने G7 में भारत को निमंत्रित किया, और मेरा भी सौभाग्य है कि मुझे 2015 के बाद फिर से एक बार कनाडा की धरती पर आकर के कनाडा के लोगों के साथ जुड़ने का एक अवसर मिला है। भारत दुनिया की सबसे बड़ा लोकतांत्रिक देश है। पिछले दिनों G20 समिट की अध्यक्षता के रूप में भारत ने विश्व के लिए अनेक उपकारक ऐसे इनिशिएटिव लिए हैं। आज G7 के अंदर G20 में भारत ने जो मजबूत नींव रखी है, उसको एक प्रकार से नए स्वरूप में G7 में उसके एग्जीक्यूशन की दिशा में ले जाने में एक बहुत बड़ा अवसर है, और भारत इस अवसर का उपयोग ग्लोबल गुड के लिए करने के लिए हमेशा इच्छुक रहा है, आगे भी इच्छुक रहेगा। भारत और कनाडा के संबंध अनेक प्रकार से बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है। कनाडा की अनेक कंपनियों का भारत में निवेश है। भारत के लोगों का भी कनाडा की धरती पर बहुत बड़ा निवेश है। लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों को समर्पित कनाडा और भारत मिलकर के लोकतंत्र को मजबूत करना होगा, मानवता को मजबूत करना होगा, हमारे रिसोर्सेज का ऑप्टिमम यूटिलाइजेशन कर करके मानव जात के कल्याण के काम में कैसे ला सकते हैं, उस दिशा में हम प्रयास करते रहेंगे। और मुझे विश्वास है कि प्रधानमंत्री जी के चुनाव के बाद मुझे पहली बार मिलने का मौका मिला है, तो इस चुनाव के भव्य विजय के लिए भी मैं उनको बधाई देता हूं, और आने वाले कालखंड में उनके साथ भारत और कनाडा मिल करके अनेक क्षेत्रों में प्रगति करेंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Excellency, thank you for inviting me to attend the G7 summit. And I'm very happy to get this opportunity to come and visit the soil of Canada after 2015 and to be in touch with the people of Canada. India is the largest democracy in the world. During our chair of the G20 summit, we took many initiatives for the welfare of the world. And today, we are extending that resolve through the G7 summit and going to execute it through the help of this platform as well. So I think that this is a great opportunity for us to serve public good, the global goods. It has always been India's intention to promote global goods, and today through G7 we have that same opportunity. I believe that India-Canada relations are extremely important, and India and Canada should work together and achieve win-win cooperation in several areas. Canadian companies have invested in India in a big way. Indian people have also invested in Canada in a big way. We both stand for democratic values. Together, we can strengthen democratic values. We can strengthen humanity. If we work together, optimally utilize all our resources, we can work for the welfare of the entire humanity. And I'm extremely confident that we'll be able to do this task. Excellency, congratulations on a grand victory on this election, and I'm sure under your leadership we will be able to work together in a positive way and take India-Canada relationship forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Please. Thank you. Pour toute l'équipe canadienne, l'équipe des Oilers. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your coverage. Thanks for you at home. You know, as I said, I guess yesterday morning, reminded that it was 50 years ago that the G7, or the advanced nations, leading advanced nations that became the G7, got together amidst economic upheaval, stagflation, conflict in the Middle East. Sounds familiar. And they formed what became the G7 with a mission, and when they met in Rambouillet, France. It wasn't a mission to preserve the old order, but to build a new one, one that could withstand shocks, deepen integration and cooperation, and really deliver prosperity for all citizens. And it's a reminder that nostalgia isn't a strategy. We have to change. And at this moment of transformation, we must turn the many challenges into change. We know there can't be security without economic prosperity, no true security without economic prosperity, but also no prosperity without resilience. We're in a world where shocks are flowing across borders, whether it's through climate change, whether it's through conflict, and we know that resilience is built through a combination of tough choices at home and smart cooperation with like-minded countries abroad. And that, in a small way, but building from that, is part of the objective of these meetings. This G7 is to begin to build that new era of cooperation, one that promotes long-term resilience over short-term efficiency. Now, le progrès réalisé à Kananaskis ne marque pas la fin de notre travail, mais plutôt son commencement. J'ai eu des échanges pendant les 2 derniers jours, des échanges productifs avec 21 dirigeants de tous les continents. Over the past few days, Canada has worked with our G7 partners to determine where we can cooperate, build resilience and lasting prosperity. And that's the approach that Canada is taking as we negotiate a new economic and security partnership with the United States. And as I've stressed repeatedly, we will take all the time necessary to do that, but no more. And yesterday, President Trump and I agreed to continue to pursue those negotiations, intensify them towards a deal within the coming 30 days. And so the President and I, as well as our respective cabinet ministers and officials, will remain in close contact in the coming days to deliver on that timeline. Over the past days, also met with global leaders who will help determine what is success in the new global system that will emerge over time. And underpinning each of those discussions was, I stress, Canada's readiness to work to create new international partnerships to promote a world that's more secure, prosperous, just, and free. We're looking to deepen alliances with stable democracies who share our interests, our values, our principles, and who look to lead. We look to lead with many of the resources, including human resources and human capital, that the world wants and the values to which so many aspire. And it's those values of freedom, of democracy, and of justice that are behind Canada's unwavering support for a secure, a free and sovereign Ukraine. And this morning I shared with President Zelensky and G7 partners what Canada is doing moving forward in multiple respects with measures to support Ukraine in its struggle in Russia's unjustified and barbaric war. With our international partners, we're launching a major new package of sanctions on individuals, on companies, on vessels, the Shadow Fleet, to exert maximum pressure on Russia. We're also sending over $2 billion in funding for drones, ammunition, armored vehicles to help Ukrainians defend their territory, as well as a $2.3 billion loan to help rebuild the infrastructure in that country. And take a moment to reiterate our condolences given the barbarism witnessed overnight in Kyiv caused by Russia. G7 leaders also reiterated our commitment to the pursuit of peace and stability in the Middle East. Make clear that Iran is the principal source of regional instability and terror. And we've been consistently clear that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. We urge that the resolution of the Iranian crisis leads to a broader de-escalation of hostilities, including a ceasefire in Gaza. Tout au long de ce sommet, nous avons également rassemblé des pays autour des défis et des opportunités les plus urgents de notre époque. Ce sont des domaines qui exigent une coopération internationale et dans lesquels le Canada est bien placé pour jouer un rôle de chef de file. I'm pleased to share that G7 nations in the past 2 days agreed to move forward in cooperation on several key priorities. We're going to work with our partners in the G7 and beyond, a number of the countries are here today, to develop critical metals and minerals in order to build independence from non-market economies. And to that end, we will create a critical minerals production alliance, a G7-led strategic initiative to stockpile and develop critical minerals needed for defense and technology, including a range from germanium, gallium, graphite, rare earths. We also struck several agreements, accords from the aforementioned critical mineral supply chains to adapting, powering, and sharing artificial intelligence, to collaborating on quantum technologies, to preventing, fighting, and recovering from wildfires, something we feel intensely, obviously, here in the prairies, tackling foreign interference and transnational repression, countering migrant smuggling by dismantling transnational organized crime. Next week, we will shift from addressing threats to economic security to addressing threats and addressing issues with respect to global defense and security at the NATO summit and at the Canada-EU summit. We recognize that our leadership will be defined not just by the strength of our values, but the value of our strength. And with that, why don't I take the opportunity to, again, thank you all and open it up for questions. Merci beaucoup. Je suis prêt à vos questions.
Nous allons maintenant procéder à la conférence de presse.
Ah,
We'll
vous
now
êtes là.
proceed to
Okay.
press conference. Format will be as follows. One question, one follow-up. Format sera... Excuse-moi, juste une question. Le format sera une question par journaliste. First question, première question.
Bonjour, Monsieur Carney. Fanny Olivier de Radio-Canada. Quel était le problème avec...
These exact words, and they're in my chair's summary. We had, as I said in French, we had a declaration given the exceptional and fast-moving situation in Iran. We concentrated on that, and it's a specific one. I held this for my chair's summary. I honestly, look, there would be, if you want a nuance or if you want a sense, there would be things that some of us, Canada included, would say above and beyond what was said in the chair's summary, but the recognition of the importance of the initiative of President Trump to achieve a lasting peace, absolutely agreed. That we are resolute in pursuing all options to maximize pressure on Russia, including financial sanctions, agreed. That we recognize that Ukraine alone has committed to an unconditional ceasefire, agreed. And that we all agreed that Russia must do the same.
I appreciate the detail in that. I'm going to ask you my question now, if you don't mind. Mike, look.
Yeah, I thought that wasn't your question. I know, but you asked me just for the. This was the equivalent of en anglais for those who follow Canadian press.
I would call it en anglais plus, but I appreciate that. In your meeting with Prime Minister Modi, I wanted to ask you, what did you say to him about the murder of Canadian Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar?
We have had a discussion, the Prime Minister and I, about the importance of having the law enforcement to law enforcement dialogue, which is not just dialogue, cooperation directly. The importance of addressing transnational repression, as I noted, including when we met, and obviously there is a judicial process that's underway, and I need to be careful about further commentary. En français, nous avons eu une discussion en ce qui concerne la coopération qui continue de l'enforcement de la loi, la lutte contre la répression transnationale. Il y a un processus de loi qui se déroule maintenant et je dois être gardé avec mes mots sur cela.
I just want to be clear, though. Yes or no, did you bring up the murder?
I refer to my previous answer.
Hi, Mr. Carney. JP Tasker from CBC News. How are you?
I'm great.
Okay, good.
Thank you, JP.
How
are you, JP?
I'm just fine.
That's good.
Couldn't be better, really.
Yeah.
President Trump says...
That was your question.
No, not so fast. President Trump says tariffs are simple and what you're proposing to resolve the trade dispute is complex. What's he talking about? What have you pitched that's complex?
Complexity is in the eye of the beholder sometimes. Look, we have mutual interests in security, border security, and military security, and in commercial prosperity. And we have a variety of paths of those discussions. The Government of Canada is going to agree only to those things that are fundamentally in the interest of Canada. In many cases, there's alignment with the United States, but not all. And the discussions are continuing. They're productive discussions, but they have more to go. And as I say, they'll take all the time that's necessary, but no more. Thank you.
Good evening, Prime Minister Carney. Justin Ling, freelance. I'm wondering if you can comment about whether or not President Trump and the American delegation pushed to water down language around the Ukrainian joint declaration, the joint declaration on Ukraine. And on top of that, I wonder what you make of his comments suggesting that it was personally offensive to Vladimir Putin to kick him out of the G7 after the invasion of Crimea.
The answer to the first, and I will speak, as you may appreciate, Justin, at these events, I speak with President Trump and his equivalents, not the delegations. The language that's in my declaration, directly with President Trump, no adjustments from my fellow leaders. So the consensus around that language. With respect to was it personally? It was personally offensive, as to put it mildly, to the citizens of Ukraine and the inhabitants of Crimea when Russia invaded in 2014, which was the cause of their ejection from the G8.
Good evening, Prime Minister. Christopher Nardi from the National Post. Canada has sent mixed messages in the past on our willingness to supply energy to allies, particularly LNG, to our allies in Europe and Asia. So what are you telling our G partners now about what Canada can do to secure supply? And is it very different from your predecessor's message?
I'll just look forward. As you know, or I believe you would, most Canadians do, We view that Canada has a unique opportunity to become an energy superpower. That's in all forms of energy. Would very much, to go to your specific question, would very much include LNG. We're seeing the opening very shortly. We just had opening of one of the major LNG projects, partially Indigenous owned, as you know. LNG Canada is about to be functioning, the largest LNG investment that we've seen. There is more that's possible, and there have been a number of discussions, including here, about potential LNG partnerships. So we look forward to those. As well, there have been a number of discussions, and I'll refer back to one of the decisions at this summit around Canada's immense potential to be a supplier of critical metals and minerals, rare earths. There was, this is my point to bring out my prop, which can you see this? You can't, but this is the magnet that President von der Leyen circulated, which is formed in Estonia by a Canadian company, and it is the only such magnet made outside of China right now. And of course, building that out with rare earth materials in Canada, this is one of many examples that we can supply. So being an energy superpower is conventional, it's critical minerals, it's clean energy, it's nuclear, it's hydro, it's all those aspects. And I would say a tremendous interest in that. And my government, alongside provincial governments, but of course at the core, the private sector is looking forward to developing those in the interests of shared prosperity.
Good evening, Prime Minister. Joanna Smith with The Logic. Yesterday, President Trump, after leaving the summit, told reporters that you had discussed Canada's participation in the Golden Dome defense system. Yep. He raised the price tag to $71 billion, or zero, if Canada were to... Is
that in Canadian? Or?
50 per state, US dollars, I believe.
Well,
and so that he's not the only one sharing that. He said it would be a separate deal from any tariffs deal. What can you share about that discussion and where your thinking is now on that project?
Well, look, a couple of things. One is that, and part of the spirit, unfortunately, of these discussions is that the world is a much more dangerous place, and the threats that face Canada, face other countries, have shifted quite dramatically. We can see exactly, unfortunately, in very tragic respects, what's happening in the Middle East as we speak, in terms of threats from ballistic missiles, the necessary to have ballistic missile defense. Canada, our geography is less and less of a shield, of a natural shield in those respects, Russia is an aggressor. Other hostile states are in prospect, terrorist organizations as well. We need to protect ourselves. That's part of the reason why, well, those are the reasons why we've started with the over-the-horizon radar scheme with the Arctic, which is one component of a broader protection that needs to be put in place. There are many reasons why partnering in this case, not all cases, but in this case, partnering with the Americans would make sense. We certainly do already, as you know, in NORAD, and this is a potential extension of that. But these are live, ongoing discussions, we will continue to pursue them as long as they make sense for Canada.
So, M. Carney, Guillaume Saint-Pierre, Journal de Montréal. Oui. Est-ce que M. Trump est revenu encore une fois sur son fantasme là, du 51e État dans vos conversations privées avec lui? Et si oui, qu'est-ce que ça dit sur l'état des négociations et sur le respect? Vous avez beaucoup parlé de respect la dernière semaine et du respect qu'il voue au Canada et à vous-même.
Non, et il y en a beaucoup de respect pour le Canada.
Donc il l'a pas mentionné du tout.
Non. Vous êtes déçu, évidemment, mais... Okay.
Hi, Prime Minister Brian Platt with Bloomberg. I wanted to ask about this 30-day window now that you've set up with President Trump. Can you explain, was this your idea for a 30-day window? Are you trying to put a deadline in place? And is retaliation still, do you move to retaliation if this 30 days expires without a deal? What's the rationale here, and what happens if you don't get to...
There are many aspects of the relationship with the United States, and many of your good questions have touched on them, from security, border security, commercial, financial, otherwise. And we don't want to
with respect to the specifics around specific tariffs, there's a certain amount of information that's necessary. There's certain decisions that can be taken given that information, given the relative perspectives, and quite often in negotiations, having a form of deadline is helpful to concentrate the mind, and that can be the case here. The teams are working well. There's exchange of information, exchange of ideas, and having that focus will be helpful. What was the second part of your question?
Retaliation. You have not retaliated to the doubling of steel and aluminum.
No, we have not yet. We retain the flexibility in order to do so, and we are looking. But I will say one thing which is related to that, which is we are looking very actively about the risks from third-party or third-country flows of steel, and mainly steel, but possibly aluminum, into Canada. And the need to provide protections from that. So we're looking at the modalities and ways of doing that, and we're very alive to that. That's the first. We're also, of course, looking to provide liquidity and other support to the firm. So, look, we have consistently responded in the best interest of the Canadian industry and Canadian workers when there have been these illegal and unjustified tariffs put in place. We do so in a way tailored to each situation. We have multiple tools with which we can respond, and some of those, as this evolves, relate as much to other countries' potential dumping of steel, excess steel into Canada as it does the U.S. So we're looking to calibrate appropriately, but we'll do what's necessary, and in short term. And I wouldn't necessarily look to a 30-day window to in that response.
Hi there, Mark Reynolds with the Globe Mail. On the 30 days, are we expecting to see a full deal announced in 30 days? A blueprint of a deal, and has Donald Trump ever given you any indication that he is willing to remove all tariffs on Canadian goods, as the Canadian delegation and yourself have requested?
Well, it's a negotiation, so that's our position. And at present, the United States may have a slightly different position, but we'll pursue one that is in the best interests of certainly Canada and aligned with U.S. interests. Thanks.
Blueprint versus a full deal?
On verra. We'll see. Look, it's we have a full deal. It's called the USMCA. Kuzma here.
Last question.
Yeah.
Good evening, Prime Minister. My name is Gaurav Sawant. I work for India Today in Delhi. Your meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, how would you describe that? And what are concrete steps that you and the Prime Minister of India discussed to take this relationship forward, that it reaches its true potential, sir?
Well, I think several things, if I may say. I would say the meeting, the fact of the meeting. Let me say a few things. First, just in terms of Prime Minister Modi's attendance at the G7. Prime Minister Modi has attended every G7 since 2018. That is a reflection of the size of the Indian economy, the dynamism of the Indian economy, Indian technology, the leadership position India plays in a host of venues from G20 and beyond. So as chair of the G7, hosting the Prime Minister in that context is entirely natural, entirely consistent. I fully expect the Prime Minister of India will be in attendance at the G7 next year, for example, in France. First thing. Secondly, in terms of the bilateral relationship, which is your question, I think the meeting today was important, but I would describe it as foundational, as a necessary first step, an exchange of views, frank, open exchange of views around law enforcement, transnational repression as two examples, an agreement to provide the necessary foundations to begin to rebuild a relationship based on mutual respect, sovereignty, trust. And that begins with what was agreed, you asked for concrete, which is that we will move to appoint high commissioners again. And let me just finish by putting that in context, which is there are very deep ties of people and businesses between Canada and India. It's well known. It's part of your point about where the relationship could go. And they are not served at present by consular services, in effect, certainly by high commissioners. And it's necessary to have that level of service as a basis on which to build out, again, in the context of respect for sovereignty and to begin to realize the potential of the relationship. And we will, we're both committed to work towards that, but there's a lot of work that will need to be done. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to close. I'm going to make one final comment, if I may. Just this is an ad lib to the question you didn't ask. What was it like in the room? I'll just say this, having been at a number of summits, G7, G20 summits, just to give a bit of a flavor. The advantage of particularly the G7 is that there are only, oddly, 9 people in the room. Because of the 2 extra, not extra Europeans, the right amount of Europeans, but there's 2 other Europeans. And there's 9 people in the room, and they're the principals, they're the leaders, and there is a great amount of direct dialogue and discussion, very frank exchanges, very strategic exchanges, differences of opinion on a number of issues, but from an effort to find common solutions to some of these problems. And that is particularly valuable, in my opinion, and I'm a new leader in this context. I have been around these things, but a new leader in this context, where we had several other new leaders, G7 leaders, because you're building those relationships, you're building those trusts. It will be very valuable, for example, next week when the core of the G7, which was the core of NATO, is together making major decisions on defense and security partnerships. And so the fact that at a time when multilateralism is under great strain, and I'm absolutely clear it is, that we got together, we agreed on a number of areas, the 6 related statements, we agreed on the perspectives on Iran, despite the impressive minutiae questions, if I may, on the detail of words around Ukraine, agreed on that aspect of maximum pressure in variable ways using financial sanctions. That's important, and that's valuable, and so I want to just give you a bit of that flavor, and last thing, I want to pay tribute to our Sherpa, Cindy, for leading this great effort under challenging circumstances in terms of global events and just the nature of bringing it all together. And so now it's probably about 6:30, so I'm hoping when I walk off the stage, the oil is up by 1. At least, no? Okay, just keep me in the zone for a minute. Down by 1. Wow, okay. Well, it's a long game. We're going to go to OT. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for indulging my little soliloquy at the end. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, ceci met fin à la conférence de presse.